Welcome to Public Civics. This is a series presented as a public service. I am Dr. James Griffith, and here with me today is Mr. David Tattlebaum. David is a member of the Dartmouth Select Board, and we are trying to make the complexities of our town more clear to our citizens in the hope of the best government we can have. This is a continuing series that will have lots of other topics. Today, we are focusing on the highest executive body of the town, the Select Board. And I will ask David a series of questions, and hopefully we will get some clarity from that. So, David, the Dartmouth Select Board Code of Conduct states, in part, to ensure that the citizens and businesses of Dartmouth have fair, impartial, ethical, and accountable local government that is responsive to the needs of the people and each other, and that has the citizens' full confidence in the integrity of the town's government. What does this mean?
Jim, thanks so much for having me. It's a great project, and I'm really enthused about letting people know how government works and get more involvement. First, I want to say one thing about our role here. I am one select board member out of 5. I have my own opinions. I have my own decision-making process, as do my 4 other colleagues. So I'm here representing myself, not the select board, because that's not fair. And if I do say so, it would be because at some point I have the support of my select board and we voted to support it, and I can then say it. Otherwise, I'm one of 5. So I want to make sure that we understand that. But a lot of these rules in Code of Conduct, Jim, are necessary because it's a government that requires this kind of decision-making and lots of integrity and confidence, there's no doubt about that. Unfortunately, over the years, the millennia of democratic government, some people take advantage of the system, and it can be, they can better themselves personally as opposed to their job. So over the years, there's been rules and regulations established that we have to follow. Some of them are very difficult to follow and almost impossible to pull off, but they're there to protect the integrity of the system and to hope that people can't take advantage and ingratiate themselves as opposed to representing the people they serve.
Excellent. Thank you very much.
Sure.
The Dartmouth Select Board Code of Conduct also states, in part, recognizing that stewardship of the public interests must be their primary concern, members will work for the common good of the citizens of Dartmouth and not for any private interest or personal gain. Members shall provide fair and equal treatment of all persons, claims, and transactions that come before the Select Board. So my question is, shouldn't this be assumed?
No doubt, and this is about an extension of what I had to say beforehand. We have a task at hand that we have to be certainly impartial and be fair, and there's lots of protections to do that, and it's something we think about as select board members and as elected and appointed people all the time. And it's something, it should be stated, but it's also now in writing, of which we, by the way, we sign this document once a year. It's a fairly new document in town, so that we read it, we understand it, and we sign it saying we understand it, and we'll follow the rules.
Excellent. One last piece of the Code of Conduct states, members shall base their decisions on the merits and substance of the matter at hand. No member shall make promises in advance as to how they will vote on a matter which shall properly come before the board as a whole. So my question is, how does this protect Dartmouth voters?
You know, Jim, we're volunteers. We're not professionals at this. We come from the citizenry of the town. And although we do have Mass Municipal Association offers us a lot of break-in period and code of ethics to follow for the state, but we need to make sure that we learn how to carry out our job and do it in a way that that has this impartiality and fairness to it, so that it's, as I said before, it's a concern. My colleagues understand it, and we try to do our best to make sure that we represent our constituents and make decisions. Sometimes are personal as we go forward all the time.
A recent set of goals for the Select Board said, in part, the Select Board, as the chief policy makers for the town of Dartmouth, with support of the town administrator, will provide leadership to achieve the mission of the town. How does the role of the select board differ from that of the town meeting?
A town meeting is very unique. In fact, most states don't have it. This goes back to our revolutionary days when we established government. And it's a representative government where in our town there's a potential for over 300 town meeting members. I think we have less than that, but each precinct has up to, I believe, 35 members. And twice a year, we come in and town meeting has to actually authorize how we spend the money, how we set major goals, and vote on each and every one of those things. So our goal as a select board, with the process of our staff, is to, and certainly the role of the finance committee, which is their role is to report to town meeting on finances, and then town meeting is able to then vote on these. And without the vote and support, these goals are not accepted. We've got to go back to the drawing board and start again. So that it's quite a process. It involves a lot of people. It can be messy at times. It can be slow, but it is what we have. And I will say at this point that there is a concern that our town's becoming a little big for this structural meeting. The answer would be possibly an administrator who would be a town manager, or possibly even a mayor without town meeting. But there is, from our point of view, and certainly from my own personal point of view, there's no hunger in that for that change. Our citizens like the fact that we're a town. We want to remain a town, and this steering of town meeting and all this legislation through the process is difficult, but I don't see it going anywhere for a while, and I'll participate and do as long as that's the way people see it.
Okay, so how does the role of the select board differ from that of the finance committee?
The finance committee has a very unique job in that they review the expenses and the processes of every single department in town, and they dig deep. I was on the finance committee, that's where I started. I was a town meeting member and then went to finance, and you literally sit with all the managers of each and staff of each of our committees, whether it be the DPW, the police, and right on down, and you review their plan, their expenses, and their budgets as a finance committee. And you actually vote on it at the end as what, how the expense reports how the expenses are going to be carried out through that part of the year. And it's a long, drawn-out process. It basically starts in January and February, and town meeting is in June. And you put a lot of time in as a finance, and it's all directed and orchestrated by the town administrator. Town administrator coordinates that through the select board and through the finance committee till we end up with everybody has to approve the articles, and if they're not approved at that level, we let town meeting members know that it was approved or not, and they can then make their own decisions too. It's a lengthy process, involves a lot of people and a lot of effort and time by a lot of good people who want to just serve the town.
Okay, so how does the role of the select board differ from that of the town administrator?
Town administrator reports to the select board. We direct traffic, if you will. Town administrator goes out and does the detail work, comes back to us, assembles all the information and all the rules and regs established by these different committees and come back to us, and we set our goals are set for not only for our select board but also goals of the town administrator, so we can then in sync carry on the town business. And as you know, we just had a new town administrator. He just finished his second week, and I think he's going to do a great job, but he's digging in fast because he understands that he orchestrates the movement of priorities in town, how we do our work. They do work on the master plan, which is one we did a while back. It's the overall scope of town, and then reporting to town meetings. So that's what the town administrator is doing to make it all happen.
Why do we have a select board instead of a city council?
Select board is part of a town meeting structure. A city council is generally then directed by a mayor. And I don't know all the specific rules and regs, because I think cities have different structures and rules themselves. But it would be that in the case of a city council and a mayor combination, they run the town, they make the decisions. There is no town meeting below that where you assemble this large mass of people to approve. So you can see why, in theory, a bigger city or bigger town that has a mayor and or a city council, they can make decisions faster, but then you don't have this mass group of town meeting members in town who participate. Makes it slower. It makes it move in a slower way, but it sure gets town residents involved in the process, and people can participate much more. And I guess that's why we're here, to stimulate people to participate.
That's what we're trying to do. We currently have 5 members of the select board, all with different terms that end in different years. Why do we have 5 and not 9? Because we have 9 precincts in the town.
I just want to make one note that the used to be called the Board of Select Men.
Right.
And in our town, way back when, our select board was, I think, savvy enough to understand that we are a select board made up of men and women. We currently have a really competent and energetic chair of the select board, Heidi Brooks. Does a great job, pleasure to work with her. And so that we have an active select board. Precincts, I think at one time there were 3 select board members. That was, and 3, by the way, is most difficult because there are open meeting laws. I guess I can go into that a little. You can't have open meeting laws that the people deserve. If a meeting is held, people should know what's going on. And with 3 members, a majority is 2, so that if 2 members meet, that's considered an open meeting, which means you can't talk to each other unless it's an open meeting that people are present or it's on TV like this. And it was hard, and years ago it was changed to 5. That's where the number 5 comes. In my my experience, the number of precincts is unrelated to why we have 5 members. Went from 3 to 5. And by the way, the current Department of Public Works, DPW board, has 3, and we're trying to change that to 5 for the same reason about open meeting laws. And hope to change that soon. That'll be coming up, hopefully, town meeting in October. Our board has voted to support that, so I can speak for the board in that case.
Very good. Is the select board elected or appointed, and why?
We are elected. It's a 3-year term. I think it's because we're high office with the kind of authority we have, and we do have a sense of oversight for the entire town. Elected is important. There are some committees that are elected in town, the Board of Health, the Park Department, assessors, and others are appointed by the board. A committee will bring up a recommendation of a member to add to their committee. We look at it, they come in, talk to us, why do you want to do it? And we're grateful that people come up and supply, and they are appointed. But I think the higher the office, more public, that it should be an elected office as opposed to an appointed.
What are the most common matters to come before the select board? What do you do?
Interesting meetings. For instance, if you run a restaurant and they sell alcohol, because they sell alcohol, they're subject to oversight by the Alcohol Commission, and they cannot change a manager of that establishment if alcohol is sold, let's say approved by the commission and approved by us, because it's important to regulate who's in charge of an establishment where there's alcohol sold. So we have a common victual license about people who serve food, who serve alcohol, or sell alcohol. They come to us all the time because there's changes, or there's committee members who come in, we approve all of those. Those are the everyday things that happen on a regular basis. It can be a little tedious, but on the other hand, it's important that people who have that kind of influence on public and on kids, possibly, that you want to do that. It happens all the time at every meeting. Committee appointments, et cetera. But then you can get into some really big stuff like how we having clean water in town and having projects that make sense and planning. Those are the big things that are really interesting. And presentations by different committees. That's the meat and importance of the project. But you can't do that without the structure, which requires some of this little more tedious stuff that you have to take care of. So you have to be ready for both.
Just to get a sense of the scope of what the select board does, what are some of the odd matters that have come before the select board since you've been there?
Odd. A lot of it has to do with violations of strange things that come before us that we're not that familiar with, but it comes to us because we have that kind of authority. That's how about someone's running a business or not doing well with it, and you have to hear these kind of weird stories about what's going on, and you got to pass judgment on that based on the facts. It doesn't happen a lot, but when it does happen, it's a little bit strange, but that's part of the business too. It doesn't happen that often where you get really odd things, but when they come up, it's somewhat fascinating.
And why wouldn't some of those things be matters for the police department?
It may go to them, and it ultimately will come to us because we have to. By the way, we are de facto police commissioners of the town because we actually interview and finalize the hiring of the chief of police. We work with the chief, who happens to, I'll say it straight, Chief Levesque is one fine individual and runs a great department. We work with him regularly because that's part of our assignment in town. Our authority is to work with him. He then goes and runs the department, but overall we ultimately interview and hire the chief so that those kind of matters many of them come to us, that have to, others he takes care of individually.
So overall, is being a member of the select board rewarding or useful?
What I really want to do is, and certainly in the twilight of my career, this is my 7th year, 3rd term, and I anticipate that I'm certainly going to finish my final 2 years, and I think term limits are important. And my own personal limit, I think that it's time for new blood and new ideas. But in the meantime, what's really rewarding to me is trying to make things happen and changes that are big. How we fund our schools, how important they are. Clean water and sewer programs and proper high school buildings and these large, really important projects. How we recycle, how we protect our environment. Those are really big, and that's the really, I call it rewarding, but I think it's part of what my job priority is. And the small stuff, you have to go by and do it, but I really, in the next, I guess it's 2.5 years, whatever it is, I look forward to those kind of projects, but on the other hand, I'll do the pick and shovel work too, because it's part of the job.
Mm-hmm. Well, I want to thank you very much for being here, and I want to express my appreciation to the people of Dartmouth for listening to this, and my request would be that you talk to your neighbors about government and how all of the things that we value here in the town of Dartmouth happen. I will assure you that they do not happen by accident, and it takes all of us being aware and paying attention and pitching in. Thank you very much.